Hello, welcome to the review. This is a full spoiler review, it's in the title, so don't complain about these images here on the screen. It's a full spoilers, and there's not really any way to talk about this episode without touching on spoilers either, to be perfectly honest. It was a really good episode of The Mandalorian, called The JEDI, and obviously aptly we can see The JEDI. I really liked this episode, it was good. There were some things which I found a bit like, that's a shame. They named the child, don't like the name. But it's tiny gripes, and that's only personal opinion. I really like the fact that he never had a name. It was always going to split fans. I'm not an idiot. It's always going to split fans when they name the child. Of course it was. Just the same as if he ever speaks, it's always going to split fans. Absolutely, unequivocally. So we're going to touch on the good and the bad, and just my general thoughts on it. Before we do, ladies and gents, I am chucking out there into the ether my Xenomorph sweater. This is the Xenomorph Christmas sweater. You can find a link to my Teespring store down below. These are only available for a very limited run. I only release them one time of year, and they are in limited supply. So when they're gone, they're gone. So please do go and grab yours down below now. Also, ladies and gents, I wrapped filming. This is why my review of this The Mandalorian last week was a little bit late. I wrapped filming on my psychological horror film, and I'm still looking for support. So if you want to head over to the GoFundMe, find a pitch and a sort of synopsis, I guess, find that link down below. But that being said, let's dive into this episode. Right, it's titled The JEDI. And obviously we knew this was coming. We knew Ahsoka Tano was coming. It was in the one before last episode. Bo-Katan said head to the village on planet of Corvus and find Ahsoka Tano and tell her Bo-Katan sent you. Now we open with a really, really good, and it is really, really good actually. We open with a really, really good battle on the planet. The planet is kind of like, it's not a forest planet anymore. It's been destroyed. The forest has been burnt out, and they did a really good job of playing on the sort of dark and the light aspect. So this was basically our first introduction to Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka Tano, and I think they've done a really good job. Now, my knowledge of Ahsoka Tano from her first appearances in the animated series is very limited, but from looking at images and things, I think they've done a really good job of putting it into live action. I really don't begrudge it at all. I think it's a pretty good crossover into live action. Now I'm sure there'll be people that'll, hardcore Ahsoka Tano fans that will have some gripes with it, and I don't doubt that their gripes are absolutely founded. But for me, I think it crossed over really well, and I was a little bit concerned as to whether it would look well or not. Not everything translates. Not that it's Rosario Dawson, but I just don't think everything translates into live action. And I was a little bit concerned that she wouldn't transfer into live action. I just don't know. It's one of those things that I was a little bit concerned by, but all in, I'm really, really happy with it. I thought it was great. And so we open with this great depiction in this gloomy forest. All the smoke and the sort of darkness is there wafting around, and they're you've got the guards shooting their red laser beams, and she's running around with her white lightsabers. And the juxtaposition between the two was great. Like the comparison, the contrast, it was very good. It was really, really good. And it worked really well. And I think to me, it solidified the aspect of her being on the light side, right? She's wielding these white lightsabers, running about. And it was decent. So basically, from there, she's trying to get some information from the magistrate who is running this small village, who's destroying the planet. And she basically threatens him and says, look, I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back. You've got one day. I'm going to come back, or give me the information or you're dead. And the magistrate says, well, yeah, I'm going to kill all these citizens then. How much is it worth to you? 100 lives? What's it worth to you? And we don't know quite what the information is, but it's a big Easter egg, and it's telling where they're going to go with her spin-off. Because I think that they are doing a spin-off. I'm pretty certain that's confirmed. And it also opens up wider narrative to Moff Gideon as well. And I hope they're not connected, actually. I genuinely hope they're not, and I'll explain why in a second. So anyway, Mandalorian comes down, and he gets asked by the magistrate to come in, and basically is offered Beskar steel, pure Beskar steel, to go and kill the Jedi, which is Ahsoka Tano. Michael Bihn's here. Michael Biehn as the magistrate's assistant was good. It's great to see Michael Biehn back. You know, if you know anything about his acting history and why he left acting and things like that, you know, it's a bit sad. Like I'm fairly certain, if I remember rightly, he went off to care for his wife and stuff like that. So he hasn't really been in acting for a while. I'm pretty certain, unless I'm just spewing absolute bollocks. But it's good to see him back. I still think he can act. I think he's a little bit, rusty, but he can still act, and it's good to see him. And it doesn't feel like fan service because he's never been in Star Wars, so it doesn't feel like fan service. But I feel like this is fan service to older fans who were the fan of Star Wars and other things, if that makes sense, you know? So this is fan service for older fans because they like Terminator, they like Aliens, you know? So it pleases those fans whilst not being fan servicey in the realm of Star Wars. So anyway, Mandalorian then goes and finds Rosario Dawson's Ahsoka Tano. A little fight ensues, but it was good because it shows the comparison between each generation or era of Jedi. Now, Ahsoka Tano is obviously from the older era of Jedi, and she does all the flips. Flippity flip, flip, flip. She's flipping about all over the place, which we don't see all the modern Jedi do that much, where they weren't in the original trilogy. And so that was good. I like that. And it's also going back to the Clone Wars as well, or the animated series, how many flips she does. But anyway, Mandalorian manages to stop her from killing him. Says, no, Bo-Katan, I've been sent by Bo-Katan. They have a little bit of a communion with the child whose name is Grogu. Again, it's going to split a lot of people. You're either going to love it or you hate it. I'm sure it's going to grow on me. Grogu. I'm not a fan, but again, I'm sure it's going to grow on me. She makes the point of... She references Anakin Skywalker, which is quite cool. I liked that reference. Obviously, they did know one another. She says, look, he's too attached to you, and it makes him act out in fear and, for your life and stuff like this, fear for your safety. I knew someone like that. They were the best of us, and I've known what can happen to them. So it's a reference to Anakin Skywalker. I really like that. I thought that was good, and it's good as well because Grogu's going to stay with the Mandalorian, stay with Din Djarin. I like that a lot. It's good. Now, in terms of where they go from there, it's pretty paint by numbers. They then go to set the villagers free from the magistrate and Michael Biehn, the guardsman, and then they wrap up figuring out, who it is that Ahsoka Tano's after, and it's Grand Admiral Thrawn. Now, in doing so, they're either setting up the fact that it's Grand Admiral Thrawn that's pulling all the strings with Moff Gideon, which I hope they're not, and I'll tell you why. Because I want there to be two separate factions looking to control the galaxy and the Empire now. I think that would be really interesting. I think it's too paint by numbers to have Moff Gideon be under Thrawn. I think that's too obvious. I want Moff Gideon to be building his own empire, trying to take over the galaxy. That would be really interesting, and have Thrawn come back and be like, what are you doing, mate? Obviously not like that. That'd be odd. But it also sets up, a really interesting conflict in future, I think. I think that would be great. So anyway, obviously, she gets that information from the magistrate, and they set the people free. And then we close with what is setting up a goodbye. So the Mandalorian goes to get Grogu, and Ahsoka Tano pops up and is like, no, I can't train him. But you can go to the ancient planet. So they go into an ancient temple, an ancient Jedi temple, old ancient planet, set him on the altar, and he'll decide for himself his fate. And I like that. I thought it was a really good episode. Very Western, very spaghetti Western. Beautiful cinematography. Some wonky effects. There were some creatures running around in the streets. Terrible effects. But you forgive it because the story's so good. I liked it a lot. I thought it was good. The lightsaber sounds were loud. But I didn't hate the sound mixing. I thought it was pretty good. It was good to see lightsabers in this because I think one of those things with The Mandalorian is like, are the lightsabers going to be good or bad? You know, is it going to take away too much from the main story when we see the Jedi? And I think it blended quite well. It's just a pit stop on his journey, his wider narrative, and it works. So we're setting up Grand Admiral Thrawn for presumably the Ahsoka Tano series. Maybe working in with the Obi-Wan Kenobi series? Maybe? I don't know. But I liked it. I thought it was good. So it's interesting, like the reason why I think having them as separate factions is the best, because you got Bo-Katan hunting Moff Gideon, which means she's going to come across the Mandalorian again. And then if you have Grand Admiral Thrawn in charge of Moff Gideon, then they're all just going to come together again, and I just think that's a bit, I don't know, I'd prefer a wider conflict, you know. It's fun when evildoers go up against one another as well. Because, you know, enemies become friends and friends become enemies and stuff like this. It's interesting. So there you go. We learn about Grogu's past and history. He literally was training on Coruscant. That was a planet, I think it was. Many Jedi have trained him. But his memory goes hazy from then. He's been hiding his powers and stuff. But because of his connection with Din Djarin, he's able to use his powers and that. I liked it. I liked the fact that he's still ambiguous. You know, that middle ground on the Force. I think that's good. So anyway, let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comment section. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Tune back in weekly for my Mandalorian reviews. Take care.